Hello friends, welcome back to this video, welcome back to the Pages and Pearls YouTube channel. My name is Hannah, I am a German based in New York City, and on this channel I talk primarily about knitting but also about some other pastimes of mine, that are basically books and writing. But today we have a classic knitting podcast episode that I want to go into, so I hope, just settle in, grab your knitting, grab your iced coffee, iced tea, or tea if you're in a colder weather right now, and get comfortable. Alright, it's been about a month I think since I uploaded the last podcast episode, and although I don't have any finished things to show you, I thought it would be time maybe to record another one because I always enjoy making these. And I still, although I haven't finished any objects, I still have some progress to share with you, and I think that's also cool. So we are basically gonna jump right into works in progress, and I hope I can keep this one like a bit shorter and sweeter, but let's see how well I do with that, because I tend to get chatty. But yes, so I have this basket full of, they're my whips and then some bits of yarn that I have, but let's just go through this together. The object that I'm mostly working on right now is in this project bag that I made myself. I talked about this in the last podcast, and the project that I'm working on is the Galax Tank by Andrea Gone. It is a top that is currently in testing. This is my first test knit also, and I think it will come out sometime this month in July, but I will put the link to the pattern or the date or whatever down in the description box, along with all the other info about the other objects that I'm going to talk about. And so this is a summer top. It's meant to become a v-neck top with this super pretty lace panel. Now I have to set down my basket because otherwise I won't be able to show you. So if I get a little bit closer, you see this super pretty lace panel that is in the front and in the back. It has these really cute knobs. And it took me a little bit to get the hang of these and how to, obviously they're described in the pattern, but to figure out how to make them comfortably without getting too tense in my hands and so on, that took me a little while, but then they're actually a lot of fun. And I'm knitting this whole project with Knitting for Olive pure silk yarn in the colorway Putty. As you see, it's just this like kind of not bright white, but more like a creamy white color. The yarn looks like this. And I'm enjoying it a lot. Because the yarn is fingering weight yarn, like a fine fingering weight yarn, it's taking me a while. So I'm knitting this on US 2, which is 2.75 millimeter needles. So it's obviously a very small needle project. I'm running a little bit behind my timeline from what I had originally expected for the test knit, because I had some issues finding gauge and had to knit up several swatches to figure out what would work both for the regular stockinette section but also for the lace panel section. And I still think my row gauge is not perfect, but that's obviously something that is easier to accommodate for than the stitch gauge. So that put me a bit behind my timeline, but now I'm making good progress, and I hope, or I think I have to finish this on time. Let's say that again. I hope I'll finish it on time, but I also know that I will have to finish it on time, so it'll work out. I will probably wear this the next time I film. I'm really looking forward to have something like this in my wardrobe, because I want some kind of like simple tops that cover like the bra strap nicely, so I don't have to worry about that, but that I can also just wear with any of the like skirts, shorts, jeans, whatever that I have, and that works well with everything but also that, yeah, something that has a little bit of an extra thing and it's not too simple. So I think this will be a really good summer wardrobe staple. So I really can't wait to finish it. And I think that's more or less everything. Is that everything that I have to say about this project? Yeah, I think so. Again, this is my main priority at the moment, because obviously it's a test knit, so I do have a deadline for this one. And yeah, I'm gonna keep on knitting on this after I finish filming the episode. Then moving on with other works in progress, we have one that I have talked about on this channel a few times already. One that I actually had hoped to finish before filming so I could wear it, but it didn't happen and I didn't want to stress myself, so I didn't stress with it. But this is the Lotus petal top by Iris Makes. So Iris Cottage is her full name. And this is a t-shirt. Also, guess I have to get up. This is a t-shirt that is knit. It's a bit crinkled now. Bottom up, and it has this very pretty lace panel at the bottom that is now a bit rolled up, but I hope that this will straighten out with blocking. So it has lace at the bottom, and then you move into stockinette for the rest of the t-shirt. And I did try this one on in my last vlog, if you haven't had the chance to watch that yet. And since then, basically, I've knitted the collar, the ribbing for the collar, and I've picked up the stitches for one of the armholes and I'm knitting on the ribbing there. I have to say, I'm really slow with finishing projects at the moment. I know I really noticed that whenever even if it's like complicated steps of the pattern that I need to do, I'm fine with all of that, but the part at the end always, so I think my least favorite parts about knitting are picking up stitches and binding off. I just don't like them so much. The only bind off that I actually enjoy a bit more is I-cord bind off. It's not that I cannot do the bind offs, it's just I don't enjoy them so much. So that's, I think, why it's taking me quite a bit to finish this right now, because basically I knit the whole project up until I think about here, like a little bit before joining at the top, within like 10 days. And then since then, well, we were on holidays, so obviously that also forced to slow me down. But this is really, really slow finishing at the moment, because I don't often feel like, picking up the stitches, doing the ribbing, binding off. So let's see how long this will still take me, although I'm really, really close to finishing actually. Like, it's just a few more rows left on this sleeve and then just the other sleeve left to do. So maybe I should give the promise that also in my next episode this one will be finished, just to hold myself accountable, because again, this is also something that I would really like to wear. So just a little bit more about the yarn. If you've seen previous episodes, you've heard me talk about it, but if you haven't, or if you want to hear it again, then here we go. So I'm knitting this in Olivia and Oliver fibers, fingering weight, and the colorway is Pixie or Pixie Dust. I never remember if the dust is in there or not. And it's this beautiful ball of like pastel goodness. So you have all the lavenders and like very soft baby pink and peach and yellow all mixed through this fabric in the end. And I'm really enjoying knitting with it. The yarn is super nice to work with. I love the colors. So all of that is a super enjoyable project to me. But yeah, there's just something about this finishing that I'm getting bored by, and I need to get over it to finally have this in my wardrobe, because again, I think this will be one of the tops, although it has a bit more color than the Galax top. I feel like it's still simple and sort of classic is the wrong word, but like basic enough that I can pair it up with a lot of items that I have in my summer wardrobe. Now, because this is merino, it's maybe not as functional as the silk top that I'm knitting, because here in New York I can now, basically the humidity already cranked up quite a bit, and I'm not sure how pleasant it will be to wear wool when it is humid. It's kind of giving me an icky feeling, like the thought of it, but I guess I'll have to try to see it. But if not, then for air conditioning or whenever I travel somewhere else, maybe. And then for autumn, obviously, this would also be perfect. But I just I want to finish it soon, because as much as I really enjoyed working on this project, I also feel like I need to come to an end with it, because I've been working on it for long enough, and it's just very little bits missing, and I just want to be done with it and dedicate my time to other things and other exciting projects that I have lined up and want to work on. So this is the Lotus petal top. One last note about this also, the maker of this, or designer behind this pattern, Iris Hardage, she is running a summer top knit along of all her patterns that is still running until almost the end of July, I believe. It's the H. Iris Makes Summer Tops Cal 2023, or just Cal, I'm not sure. But I will link her website down below, and you can check there. It's still running for a bit, and if you participate in the knit along, I think you get a discount on her other patterns, and she has really, really cool summer patterns. So I would love to knit something else of hers. She has this top that is called, I think, the strawberry top, that is like a really cute eyelet top. And she has really great other patterns, so I would recommend checking her out. There's also a bralette she came out with recently that I'm really eager to make, because it looks really cool and customizable. So I also want to finish this top so I can get the discount and get another one of her patterns. So much for the Lotus petal top. Both of these that I just talked about, so both the Lotus petal top and the Galax tank top, are, in my view, for myself, for my skill set and my experience with knitting, the perfect lace works, because I haven't done any lace work before these two, but when I started the Lotus petal top back in mid-May, I really enjoyed working on the rounds at the bottom where you do all the lace work. And now with the Galax top, I also really enjoy the mix that you have between working the lace sections in the front and in the back, and having some good old stockinette in between. So I'm still not, I'm kind of somewhere that I enjoy stockinette in the round, but after a while I also tend to get a little bit bored with it, so then I need another project in parallel that keeps me somewhat more engaged. And I feel like these two, and especially the Galax, where you have the lace section along the front like the whole way through, are pretty much a perfect balance for me, because they are engaging in some parts and then soothing and like meditative and repetitive in other parts. And that really, I noticed that I dedicate more time to it, and then I spend longer within each of my like knitting sessions working on it, because the balance is so much fun for me and gives me the perfect mix of two things that I look for when I pick up my works in progress. So that's pretty much perfect. I would definitely recommend these, and I already have a few sweater patterns bookmarked for like autumn or winter, in case I look for this lace but not all over lace balance again. And it's nice to see that this sort of balance works well for me. If you have any summer tops or t-shirts along those lines that you would recommend, please leave them below in the comments, because now that I noticed that this is a good type of project for me, I'm obviously also curious to learn about more projects that I could potentially knit. So just about that for the lace work. Then, so these are the two projects that I am with the furthest, I think. No, actually no. I have one half finished object, and that is a sock that I started, or a pair of socks that I started for my partner, because so far I've only knit socks for myself, and I started with a sock for my dad, but I still have to knit the second one in that pair. Talked about that in my last podcast. I'm not going to talk about it here because I didn't make much progress and I don't have much to show you. But the sock that I was talking about now, that I'm knitting for my partner, that is this vanilla sock that instead of giving it a contrast cuff, I basically inserted these like 3 stripes along the leg and then made a contrast toe as well. So this is, yeah, just a classic vanilla sock. I am knitting this in a Hedgehog Fibers merino sock yarn, which is a 90% merino, 10% nylon mix. And the white contrast color is some Cascade Heritage sock yarn that I have left over from another project. I think the colorway is called, not chalk, is it? Something else. I will have to look it up. I don't have it. I don't know it off the top of my head. But limestone. That's it. Not chalk. Limestone. Yeah. So that's the white color. And then this one, the colorway of the Hedgehog Fibers yarn is called Trail, and it's a colorway exclusive to the Argyle Yarn Shop in Brooklyn that I visited a few weeks ago. And just a bit more about the yarn, because I'm really enjoying to knit with this yarn. It has this like just brown main color or color base, but then you have sections that are more like cream colored, some colors as well, like some specks of color. I think here you see some of them quite well. So a bit like greenish, orange-ish. There's also somewhere like a really bright blue fleck somewhere here. But yeah, it's a nicely variegated yarn that I think with the brown tones it's a bit more, kind of a bit more neutral, but not boring or not too like uniform. And yeah, I finished the first sock, as you can see. I did a bit of, how do you call it, helical knitting to switch up the stripes up here. And on the side where I did the changes, you can see it quite a bit right now. I guess I still have to improve my technique with it. But here on this side, on the other side, it looks pretty cool, I think, actually. So maybe he just has to wear this on the inside of his leg, so it's not super visible. Yeah, and so the first sock is done. I finished it about a week ago, but because at the moment, throughout the week, I'm not at home, but I'm in a different town. After binding this off, I wanted to wait for him to try it on to see if this sock fit, that I started with the right number of stitches and so on before starting the second sock. So yeah, that I wouldn't make a pair that in the end wouldn't fit him or so. I did like a 2x2 rib for the cuff, and I also started with the German twisted cast on and not a regular long tail cast on. At some point, Marlene from Marlene Knits talked about this in her videos, that actually the Crazy Sock Lady who published this vanilla sock pattern also talks about this type of cast on, and that she tried it and that it's really cool because it's really elastic and also not too tricky to do. And yeah, whenever I saw her talk about that, I also thought, okay, that would probably be something good to try, and it indeed is. So now I kind of start all my socks with a twisted cast on because it gives just a little bit more elasticity and give up here. Yeah, so all I have to do now is cast on the second sock. I might do that this week, or maybe this week I focus on the 2 tops that I want to finish. Let's see. And then for a last work in progress that I've been working on actively recently, that is very, very much still at the beginning, but something I'm extremely excited about. And that is the Cottage cardigan by Jacqueline Cieslak. I've been talking about this cardigan for quite some time on this channel already because it looks really cool and I want to make it. And I have picked up the yarn for that, or I had picked it up already a few months ago because I wanted to work with Pearl Soho linen quill. I have a swatch here that I made. So this is the linen quill in the colorway turmeric? No, butterscotch yellow. It's butterscotch yellow. The colorway, here you can see it up closer. I think it knits up beautifully. It's very soft, very elastic, a little bit fuzzy because there is some alpaca, so it's a wool, Highland wool, I think, Peruvian Highland wool, alpaca, linen blend. The linen has quite a low percentage, but it gives a very interesting, like, very slight color variation because the linen takes up the color differently. And yeah, it's a very soft and nice and lightweight fabric. And the cardigan, I think, is knit in a quite loose gauge for the fact that this is a fingering weight yarn, which is one of the reasons that I wanted to start it now, because I think it's a very good cardigan to take with me in summer when outside it's quite warm, but then inside it's quite air conditioned and you want maybe a thin layer to have with you just in case. So this is why I'm knitting this cardigan now in summer, because yeah, I think it would fit very well, and I also picked the color because it would fit with a lot of my summer clothes and summer dresses. So that's why I picked this color. And then yeah, I'm not very far, as I said. This is where I'm at right now. It is quite an interesting construction because you kind of start with a tab for the neckband, and then from there you start knitting like the shoulders and the front of the cardigan and so on. I've only made one cardigan so far before, but that one started with a back panel and then picking up shoulder stitches. So this is quite different, that you kind of start almost knitting, I believe, like the button band or the collar, and then start the rest from there. So I'm really curious where this will go. I'm knitting this on 4mm needles, which I believe is US size 6. So it's kind of fun after primarily working on the Galax, which uses silk, which is obviously also still an animal fiber, but it's a much drier fiber and much stiffer, way less elastic. And then it's fun kind of to come to this, that yeah, the yarn just feels very different. It has more elasticity to it, is softer, smoother, and noticing this contrast, I can definitely see why people tend to prefer maybe knitting with wool in the winters more. I don't mind the silk. I've gotten used to it. I also feel like it depends a little bit on the needles that you use and stuff, but overall this is a little bit softer on the wrists as well, I would say, to knit on. But it's kind of cool to see the differences in fiber, how they behave, and it's definitely something that I'm enjoying a lot at the moment, to work with different fibers or fiber blends and seeing how they just feel differently. So again, very much at the beginning of this cottage cardigan, but I think once I am done with the 2 tops that I'm currently working on, I will have a bit more time to dedicate to this in a more focused way, and then hopefully I'll make a bit quicker progress or more steady progress. I don't need to like hurry up and be super quick, but I just want to make a bit more steady progress with this one. Yeah, and that's about it for active works in progress. I also have, again, as I said, one pair of socks that where I finished the first sock and kind of started with the second one. Didn't make much progress since the last episode, so I will talk about that once I make more progress and once I have more things to talk about. Okay, acquisitions. I only have one acquisition today to show you, but that's one I'm also very excited about, and that is this yarn. This is yarn that I picked up at my local yarn shop a week ago. So my local yarn shop is Nitty City in New York City, and they, since a few months, they have started running these really cool pop-ups or trunk shows, or however you want to call them, on weekends again, or on Saturdays. And last Saturday, they mostly run them with local indie yarn dyers, which I think is pretty cool because then you can see the yarns in person, you don't have to order them. And there were a few that I've had my eyes on, but on some of the weekends I didn't have time, I wasn't here. But last weekend, luckily, it did work out, because the Hugh Maid came to Nitty City to sell her yarn, and she has these really, really cool yeah, a really cool set of yarns. I loved one colorway that she came out with after Everything Everywhere All at Once. Did I say that title right? I think so. Anyway, she made a specific, after it won the Oscar, she made a specific colorway for that that sort of like mirrored all the different colors from the film poster that looked really cool. And I've been following her on Instagram for a while already because I really like the yarns and color combinations that she comes up with. And now when she was in Nitty City, I was particularly excited to go because I feel like there's a bit of a mix with how many indie dyers also use plant fibers. And I think I saw someone talk about that plant fibers also use different dyes or take up the dye differently. So there is also obviously some like logistical thinking and everything behind it. So by no means do I want to say, do I want to blame like any indie dyer for not using plant fibers, right? But it really caught my attention that she also has some plant fibers in her yarn bases, and I wanted to have a look myself and potentially buy some because I'm focusing more on summer tops right now and I want to experiment with all these different summer fibers. So what I picked up were 2 balls of this one, and this is the Made Pop Linen, which is a 4-ply fingering weight, 383 yards per 100 grams, and it's 60% cotton and 40% linen, so a really cool mix, I would say. Definitely a very dry fiber, feels a little bit stiffer, but she also had a sample there that she had knit up that felt a little bit softer when it was knit up into fabric rather than just the yarn strands. This is the colorway Ume. I hope that's how you pronounce it. Yeah, she has, so on her website you can also see she has quite small batches of the Made Pop Linen, but very cool colorways, really pastel-y or sort of like softer toned down colors that all, yeah, I was tempted to buy more of the colors, but then decided for this one because I cannot possibly knit up so much that it would have made sense to buy the other things. But I'm really happy with this purchase, and I'm thinking that this might go into a, what's it called, one of the newer patterns by Jessie May Designs. I think it's called the Totally Tank Top. It's a kind of like racerback top that she came out with somewhere in May, I believe, and it's one that I would like to make anyways, and I wanted to try out making some of her patterns, but yeah, this one in particular, and I think this yarn will work pretty well for it, and I'm excited to cast it on along with the other summer garments that I'm excited to cast on. And I think that is it in terms of new acquisitions and knitting related things that I wanted to talk about. As I said, I didn't have any finished objects, so I think maybe that's why it's a shorter and sweeter episode, but that's fine as well. And in other news, as I said, I'm currently not in New York during the week, but traveling to a different city for a job that I have for about another month. And that gives me a bit more time at the moment because I only work half days. It gives me a bit more time to do other things that I haven't had the time for and the focus while I was writing on my PhD thesis. So at the moment I have more time to knit, but I also want to get back more into writing again. In fact, I have started writing a bit more again for the ones that are new here, or if I don't talk about it so much, but I am currently writing a rom-com book. I'm writing it for myself primarily at this moment, but I finished the first draft last year and I'm now working on improving it in a second draft so that I can hopefully send it out to some test readers to get some feedback, to be comfortable with what I'm sharing, because the first draft was not so well written, a bit embarrassing. So that's something that I'm dedicating my time to at the moment. And I'm also thinking of maybe 1 week taking you along and filming another writing vlog. I filmed a writing vlog here and published it about, I think in March. I had a lot of fun doing it because it kept me accountable and it allowed me some space to reflect on the writing sessions and what I was sort of like struggling with or thinking about. And that was a lot of fun. I love watching these type of videos, but I know that they're not typical like knitting channel material. So I'm still kind of thinking about if I want to make another one of those or not. If you have any opinions about it, let me know in the comments, of course, but ultimately, obviously, it's my decision. So maybe that's something that you're going to see in the future here, maybe some more book review related videos. I really enjoyed talking about books in my last vlog, so I think that's something that I'm gonna keep coming back to a bit more. And I know that a lot of people in the knitting community also like to read or listen to audiobooks, so I think there's some nice overlap there. Yeah, that might be interesting to people. And I think that's about everything that I have to talk to you about today. Other than that, life is a bit tumultuous. I'm applying for jobs. I'm applying for jobs in the US, outside of the US. Let's see where we'll end up in the next months, because our lease here in New York expires in a few months. The rent prices are a little bit crazy. Not a little bit, they are complete bonkers actually, if you think about it. And one of the reasons that we are considering moving back to Europe also. But let's see if that will happen in the next months or if it will take us another year, because these big moves obviously also always take some time to plan. But I will talk a bit about that here and there in the videos. But for the most time at the moment, I try not to think too much ahead and focus on the here and now and focus on my knitting and my writing and enjoying my summer in the city and outside of the city. So that's a fun exercise for me at the moment. And that's, I think, almost basically all I have to talk about. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you're working on or what you are looking forward to work on in the next weeks. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, give it a like or subscribe if you haven't yet. And I hope I will see you in a new video soon. Bye bye.